Good. Ladies and gentlemen, existing and future Rail Baltica family members, it's a pleasure to meet you all, still virtually, but still happy to see you or feel you. Last time we met in November last year in the Rail Baltica Industry Days, an event of extraordinary interest also from you, with more than 3,000 participants from 35 countries. And at the end of the year, we also conducted a survey that confirmed and indicated a very strong expectation from the industry members to have regular updates dedicated to the industry members from the Rail Baltica team. And therefore also glad to meet you today in the Rail Baltica Procurement Webinar of 2022. In standard, this event would allow us to look at the progress within the project in the first quarter, look at the priorities of this year, including in particular of the procurement field. At the same time, we unfortunately, and the whole world is struck by the atrocities and the condemnable war on Ukraine that unfortunately is still taking place. And therefore, personally, I can only invite each and every of you, professionally or personally, to continue the strong support to the Ukrainian partners, people, etc. And therefore, also, in addition to the standard program, there will be also a dedicated discussion between the project partners that's included on the agenda. And I'm also honored that Madame Catherine Trautmann, the EU coordinator for the North Sea Baltic corridor, can also join us online today. On the practicalities, so to ensure this interactive cooperation, also this time there's an opportunity to use the Slido platform, so slido.com, using the hashtag Rail Baltic Procurement 2022. Nothing exciting, but fit for the purpose to ask the questions to the family of Rail Baltica representatives, and the questions and the answers will be replied at the end of each of the sessions. Today, a quite intense 3-hour webinar divided in two parts. The first one dedicated to the strategic vision and the procurement plans for 2022. And the second part, after a short technical break, dedicated to let's say, a more specific and larger procurement types, namely the consolidated procurements, as well as procurements of namely energy and control command signaling subsystems. Yes, so once again, please use the Slido actively, hashtag Rail Baltic Procurement 2022. And without taking too much time, I would like to give floor to the CEO and Chairman of the Management Board of the Rail Baltic Joint Venture, RB Rail, Mr. Agnis Driksna. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Geert. Thank you for introduction. Indeed, good morning. Good morning from Rail Baltica family. Ladies and gentlemen, current suppliers, potential suppliers, friends of Rail Baltica, colleagues. It is my pleasure to open the annual procurement webinar for Rail Baltica. Today we are coming, I would say, as always, in the unusual circumstances. Because last time we were coming during the COVID times, and now we are already in completely different world and different Europe after 24th of February. Nevertheless, project will go on. So let me give you a few strategic messages today. So first of all, with every crisis and with every challenge, as we right now are facing jointly at the individual level, at the professional level, during the states, or whether it's at a European level, supporting and fighting for democratic values, what Europe, what each of us stands for, it also are challenges for the project. But with every challenge also comes the opportunity. I just recently had a talk with my better half, my wife, and she said, I will do this one thing, and then it's gonna be easier. And I was smiling inside because I know that I have said it many times to myself as well, whether in a private life or in a business. But those challenges which are coming, it's not whether they are easy or hard. It's whether we are prepared and committed to face them with a proper dedication, with a proper knowledge and commitment. And here we can see that this war in Ukraine also shows the strategic importance for Rail Baltica project, and also brings closer project partners and shows Baltic unity and European values across the project what we are delivering. We are facing uncertainties, and when we are facing uncertainties, it can be faced only together between the project implementers, between the Baltic states, European Union, and our suppliers. And within this aspect of geopolitical situation, it's not only important to build the Rail Baltica as a fast railway, but it's also important to build Rail Baltica fast. And as soon as we can, put also into operations the corridor in a different way, so that we can see how we are moving forward. And last but not least, when we speak about the success, my experience and also kind of company's motto shows that there are 3 Ps. First of all, it's a people, because we are building railway and we are building economic corridor for the people, by the people. Secondly, it's a purpose. Whatever we do in life or in a project, we need to have a very precise purpose why we are doing that. In order to achieve the purpose, we need to be professional and treat our partners and our friends in a professional manner, bringing the best information. And on the screen, you see that we are speaking, and today I'm speaking about the 4 Ps. And 4th P is a passion, because this is called life. Whatever you do in a life, you need to do it with a passion. Otherwise, I mean, it's going to fail. Because if you are passionate for things, passionate for the purpose, passionate to work with the people, you have no luxury or no opportunity to fail. So in other words, passion is a driving force which brings us closer to the result. As Dirk said last time when we met, it was at the end of 2021. So let me identify a few of the elements, what has happened during the last 4 or 5 months. First of all, we are moving forward with the detailed technical designs in all 650 kilometers, and also have started an ongoing construction activities in all 3 Baltic capitals and Baltic states. Secondly, last time we were proud and mentioning that we have a long-term contract with our energy kind of electrification consultant. Today, I can say that we have signed also this long-term contract and relationship with a command control and signaling kind of partner. Secondly, several crucial procurements have been launched, because it's all about the procurements today. First of all, Kaunas-Vilnius procurement is launched already, and we are preparing to launch also from Kaunas to Polish border. Then the contract has signed been in Lithuania for the bridge Neris, which is the longest bridge in the Rail Baltica section in the 3 countries. Also, the procurements have been launched in Estonia for Ülemiste passenger station, which will be one of the international stations of Rail Baltica. And also very important procurement in Latvia has been launched, and right now we are preparing for the 2nd stage. It's a construction procurement for the main line from the north to south. And last but not least, we are continuing to applying for the financing, and already now we can see that under this MFF, Latvia and Lithuania has received financing under the military mobility, and we are expecting shortly financing under the first CEF call and preparing to launch for the next. Overall, what we're going to speak today about the procurements, we will see that in 2022, Rail Baltica is planning to launch the procurements exceeding 2 billion euros. To continue, as I said, these are uncertain times, and I think that everybody understands that. So if you look from our partners, then the key element here is to build those strong and long-term relationships. Today, in the Rail Baltica, we see that we have more than 150 active contracts among 3 Baltic countries. We see that there are over 200 Baltic companies which are involved, and 50 international, and the number is growing by the day. Overall signed amount of the contracts is more than 900 million euros. So what we are focusing in? We are focusing on building these long-term strategic relationships and partnerships with our suppliers. We are looking at the agile and flexible implementation of the procurements and the contracts, so that we can adapt to ever-changing situation globally and regionally. And above all, we are always encouraging our partners and ourselves to work together in order to bring those democratic values for all people, and considering the war in Ukraine, that this is becoming more and more important. And to complete my presentation, I would like to say only a few things about the strategic priorities for next 3 years. The good thing is that considering all what is going on, they still have not changed. So first priority what we see is building maturity for the mainline construction. And that means we are completing the detailed technical designs, moving forward with the land acquisition, construction activities, so that we are fully on the construction level by the end of 2024. Secondly, it's of course delivering of ambitious programs for electrification and signaling. Right now, we have in place consultants which are helping us to develop the strategies and coordinate the implementation of these two substantial elements and systems. And we are moving for the procurements in both of them. Then the third, what is important element, is that we are speaking about one common project. Yes, it's implemented directly in 3 countries, plus Poland and Finland. But at the end of the day, we're speaking about one common project. And we need to standardize, support, and check compliance. So at the end of the day, irrespectively of who is the contracting authority or in which country, which supplier is kind of delivering the result, we are working within one system as a one team. And above all, of course, the railway is not the end game. The railway is just the beginning. So in a parallel, we need to develop this economical corridor and ensure that our people, our businesses are connected within the Baltics and between the EU. So therefore, this is something that we need to achieve in ever-changing environment what we have. So agile approach towards any challenge what may come. And at the end of the day, I would like to conclude with a very simple thing, that whatever we do in life, whatever we do in project, sometimes it is important to reach the goal irrespectively of a way you do that. I will explain what I mean by that. So when you are setting the aim for something, it's really difficult to be lost if your aim is too far away. But what is important to have a smaller goals on the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, monthly level, so that you can achieve those small aims, which all are contributing to the global end result. And in that sense, then you break this elephant in smaller pieces, and that's how you succeed. That's how you succeed on the life, and that's how you succeed also in the project. So thank you very much. Thank you all for joining, and I will give floor right now to my colleagues to go further in the details about the procurements and what to expect from Rail Baltica in 2022. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Agnes. I think it's absolutely clear on the priorities and also that the project is working closely with our partners. And I'm happy that more than 400 viewers have joined the webinar already online, in both on the Rail Baltica webpage, railbaltic.org, but also on the social platforms on LinkedIn and Facebook. On the values and connecting Europe and connected Baltics. This is, and in the present situation, in the present geopolitical situation, the importance of Rail Baltica only increases. And therefore, the close partnerships between the Baltic partners, but also within the EU, is of particular importance. And therefore, I'm truly happy to introduce Madame Catherine Trautmann, a passionate and dedicated partner of Rail Baltica, and also the EU coordinator for the North Sea Baltic Core Network Corridor. Madame Trautmann, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Gert, for introducing me, and thanks also to Agnes Drixna for the introduction. Very interesting to our webinar today. I am effectively the coordinator of the North Sea Baltic Corridor. I was nominated by the European Commission to coordinate the cross-border infrastructure development along the corridor, which stretches from Luleå in Sweden to the Netherlands via Finland, the 3 Baltic states, Poland, Germany, and Belgium. The railway connection from Tallinn to Warsaw is in European gauge is what we call a major missing cross-border link. It is also a missing part of the Trans-European Transport Network, the TEN-T, and identified in my work plan for the corridor. For the Baltic states, the project also represents an opportunity to create a new economic corridor using synergies to develop digital infrastructure. Rail Baltica is a priority for the Commission. From my contacts with the transport ministers and vice ministers of the 3 Baltic states, I know that it is also a priority for Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. We need Rail Baltica to complete the European transport network, and we need it to improve the connectivity of the Baltic region. The Baltic region is connected by road, aviation, and shipping, but not yet sufficiently connected by rail, and especially from north to south, or to east to west. The project was a priority before the 24th of February. It was clear that we need to shift transport from road to rail to meet the objectives of the European Green Deal and the Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy. Member states have ambitious CO2 reduction targets for 2030, and they will have to pay penalties if they don't meet them. A shift to rail transport is one way to reduce the CO2 emissions from the transport sector. It is also a way to reduce the dependence on important fossil fuels. The Russian invasion of Ukraine only reinforces the need to connect the Baltic states firmly to the rest of Europe. The Russian attack has increased the geopolitical relevance of Rail Baltica. A reliable and multimodal transport connectivity of the Baltics is important to underpin their place in the EU. Because Rail Baltica is so important for the Commission, it contributes significantly to the financing of the project. European programs can be used to pay for the construction. Funding can come from regional and cohesion funds, from the Recovery and Resilience Facility, and from the Connecting Europe Facility. The latter is likely to provide the bulk of the financing. The program can finance up to 55% of the projects. This strong European backing makes Rail Baltica a very safe project for suppliers and construction companies. For you as construction and supply companies that have contracts with RB Rail or the implementing bodies, it doesn't matter where the money comes from, as long as you get paid. You also don't have to be aware of the details of the Connecting Europe facility and the management of grant agreements. RB Rail will manage all of this duty with European Commission. One thing, however, companies should know when they are involved in projects financed by the European Commission, you need to deliver on time. The Connecting Europe facility and the cohesion and regional funds have a clear cutoff of date. If projects go beyond this date, it will not be possible to finance them. This means that contractors and suppliers really have to deliver on what they promised in the tender documents. The Commission, of course, knows that cases of force majeure can occur. We saw this during the COVID crisis. Some specific projects might also be affected by the Russian war against Ukraine. The grounds for force majeure will be scrutinized diligently, and force majeure can only be granted when the reason for the delay is a direct result of the Russian war. Should any of you be interested in the details of how the Connecting Europe facility works, I would invite you to attend one of the CEF Info Days, which CINEA regularly organizes. As the European coordinator for the North Sea Baltic Corridor, I can only underline and repeat my message. Rail Baltica is a key priority for the European Commission and the Baltic states. And through the Connecting Europe facility, we are making substantial amounts of money available that can be used to realize the project. I'm looking forward to seeing Rail Baltica become a reality in the coming years under the strong leadership of RB Rail and the strong support of the implementing bodies. Thank you for your attention, for your presence and interest for this important and strategic project for the TEN-T. We will continue, even with the events today. We want to achieve the Rail Baltica because it is necessary to have it through the 3 Baltic states, connecting Finland and connecting Poland. So this is not a hope, this is a hope, but this is also a reality for all of us, and we work on it in a strong cooperation. Thank you very much.
Especially in these challenging and sometimes uncertain times, this message from the Commission and you as the representative of this North Sea Baltic corridor is of particular importance, and therefore on behalf of the project, but I think also on behalf of the supplier community, I can say thank you for these clear messages. And linking together with what Agnes mentioned previously on these smaller pieces and smaller milestones, I think it's time to truly come to this part on the procurement, or let's say to turn to the glorious procurement team of the project, because the ambitious procurement plan for 2022 across the project delivery organizations shows these commitments and these interim pieces that put together makes this glorious project come together. And of course, for the consultants and suppliers to deliver, we need to get to them. And therefore, I think this procurement dedicated webinar is also aimed to address the questions and perhaps also concerns from the industry. And therefore, I would like to once again remind of opportunity to use Slido platform, slido.org with hashtag Rail Baltic Procurement 2022 and ask your questions. Something else, I think not this time, and I'm happy then to give floor to Christian Piirsalu, the Chief Procurement Officer at the Rail Baltic joint venture, RB Rail. The floor is yours, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Geert, and good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. I will tell you a little bit about a couple of challenges we've had, some of the main challenges we've faced over the last year and currently what we're facing. And we will talk about what we're doing currently and also what we are thinking about going forward and what plans we have going forward. So first of all, before we go into more detail about procurement as such, it's probably worthwhile just to highlight some of the project governance aspects that, for instance, this project is one of the most complex projects in Europe, and you can see this from the current schematic that's on the screen, which illustrates the complexity as it's being delivered, implemented in the 3 Baltic countries, and has also links to Poland and Finland. And of course, we are dealing with also the European funding in addition to the Baltic funding. Then there is very much complexity, and also it's important to understand that there are multiple parties that undertake procurement activities. So we have the shareholders of the joint venture from each of the Baltic countries, and then we have, in addition to RB Rail, the joint venture that undertakes procurement activities, also the national implementing bodies, which you can see further down on this chart in each of the countries. So there are four main bodies that undertake procurement activities on this project. And this is worthwhile just keeping in mind, keeping at the back of your heads just when we go through the whole day. And of course, the slides will be available later on as well as the recording of this event. So if we go forward, then what we have done in terms of procurement over the past year and a half, we've seen that with the challenges that we've encountered, communication has become increasingly important, and good communication, and what we can do has always been the question, what we can additionally do in terms of the communication, in terms of the procurement exercises that we run. So we've already established a practice of regular market research and consultation with the market participants and potential suppliers, and communication with them. We have done various briefings and provided information through our website, through various events that we have done to provide information on key tenders and what to keep in mind to come and participate in procurement. In addition, we have since last year also started to do more about highlighting main pitfalls, how not to fail in our tenders, what are the key items to keep in mind to make sure that your applications and proposals are compliant. In addition to that, what we've started to do since last year to also do pre-proposal briefings. So in addition to what we do pre-procurement and the communication we do pre-procurement, we do additional briefings before proposal submission to make sure that everybody understands what and how needs to happen and what we need to do. And also post-tender briefings is something that we do as a standard practice, that regarding any key tenders especially, we provide the opportunity to have a briefing session with our procurement team and project management to really understand what have been the key points to consider, or where tenders have fallen short in terms of their proposals. And this all is really important, especially in the light of the challenges that we've had, not least the COVID-19. So first of all, we had the COVID pandemic that really raised the need to do things more effectively and efficiently, and find ways to communicate in a situation where the market is very much closed. And now in the situation of the Ukraine war, a very unfortunate thing that's happened and unfolded, where we see also that there are big changes and everlasting changes that are happening in the supply market as well. And whilst we updated the procurement policy last year, now we are looking for further updates in the policy. We are doing this exercise together with our partners on this project, the national implementing bodies, and hopefully we will also have soon more clarity to provide through our website and various methods of communication to the wider supply market on what the updates will be. At the end of last year, as we have done regularly for the past 4 years, we undertook a supplier survey as well. This is a really helpful tool for us. This is a survey that we undertake every year to really understand from the perspective of the suppliers out there, what is our practice, what is the quality of the procurement practice at RB Rail as the joint venture, and what we have to do to improve going forward. And it was really good to see that there is a good mix of small, medium-sized and large companies involved. That also there are multiple areas of business where the suppliers are involved. And obviously the key areas are construction design and supply of materials. Also, it was good to see that there are various different platforms of engagement that are being used quite effectively across the project. And of course, there is a lot of engagement through procurement that is taking place. Now, one of the key indicators that we look at in this survey is the overall quality of the procurement process or tendering process as such. And I'm really happy to say that the result was higher than we had never expected. In 2018, when we first launched this survey, it was a situation where we didn't expect the result to be that high, but we took the the feedback into account, and we improved, and we kept improving year on year, and we see that the result is 77% satisfaction already. So that we are very proud of, and we also are very thankful to the suppliers that participate in these surveys that help us to improve and provide a better, more transparent and fair procurement practice going forward. The way forward, let's talk a little bit about that. So we know that there are certain issues currently in light of the Ukraine war, and the three main issues that have come to light almost immediately are the volatility of the supply and energy prices, the limitation of workforce in the region, and also the inability or difficulty to source certain supplies. And these are the things that we're dealing with, we are aware of, and we are addressing on a continuous basis. And in terms of sanctions and restrictions, so something that we have to be very clear about is that we don't see any opportunity for Russian and Belarusian companies to participate in tenders in Rail Baltica. That's not least because what is going on in Ukraine currently, the aggression against Ukraine is against our moral and ethical values, as we are a truly European and Baltic mega project, but also because we have done a very thorough survey on the project risks and reviewed the situation, and because of that, because of also the pragmatic reasons behind, we have no doubt in our minds that doing the right thing is the right thing to do, and this is exactly what we're doing here. Also, in terms of contracts, we are looking at the review and potential substitution of certain suppliers, and this is a case-by-case exercise that we're doing. And of course, in addition to that, we are rejecting all the sanctioned companies and individuals as per the sanctions law. If we're looking at further on the way forward, then there are three key areas which we are currently considering potential further solutions and discussing amongst the project participants what and how we can do to relieve the situation, to relieve the market difficulties, the volatility, and to make sure that we continue the project implementation in an unhindered manner. So in terms of these three key areas, there's one area that concerns procurement, another that concerns contracting and pricing, and the third that concerns the cooperation between the client and the contractors and suppliers. So first of all, on procurement, one of the things we consider is potentially doing more of two-stage procurements with negotiations, which will allow us to understand the first-hand information from the suppliers at the negotiation stage and to adjust to the market difficulties at the time of or just right before submitting the final proposals. And also being able to currently proceed with tenders already without having to commit to pricing at the volatility situation, and at the time when proposal stage comes, then by that time we hope the market would have settled a little bit more as well. So that's the current anticipation that we have. Then in terms of the evaluation criteria, looking at some more balanced criteria as well, not just price, because the price volatility makes the price evaluation also somewhat difficult or unthankful as an exercise. So we need to think about other criteria potentially that will help us work together more with suppliers who have the ability to mitigate risks and look into alternative supply chains and solutions. And of course, framework agreements and dynamic purchasing systems is one way of going on with procurement in an unhindered way and resolving part of the procurement exercise in advance already. Contracts and pricing options, what we are thinking about at the moment, what potentially we could do. So higher commitment amounts, high initial commitment amounts. So we understand that the funding for the project is cyclical as per the EU funding cycles. And we are looking at the potential of having higher initial commitment amounts. Of course, advance payments also making those more regular, looking into the proportion of advance payments possible. And flexible pricing mechanisms and indexation is something that we are already doing at several places, and we'll be looking at further options there, what we can do, even going further, what we can do as a more standard approach. And of course, interim payments for solutions for deliveries within the contract to potentially make those more frequent as well. In terms of cooperation, something that we have been discussing already actually through the COVID time, as we're now coming out of COVID, we see that more feasible to have the big room approach, or what basically is a cooperation, a one-team approach with our suppliers and contractors, especially on key tenders and key contracts, which allows us to work together to mitigate risks. And the next point, risk sharing, that's part of this approach as well, so that we would work as a one team with the contractors and undertake these exercises of risk management potentially together. Then something that we are also contemplating about is the potential, the feasibility of a procurement hub for contractors, which is the possibility of consolidating the requirements for procurement or purchasing between various contractors that we have in different contracts. So these are all the things that could potentially help, but these need a little bit of work and communication also with everybody that's listening in, of course. And the technical specification flexibility is one thing as well, looking at perhaps more output specifications than detailed specifications to allow for contractors to establish workaround mechanisms to work around the market volatility, to be able to shift work around on site and so on. So these are the things that we are thinking of overall. There is more information to come. Currently this work is ongoing. We have started it at the Procurement Reference Group, which is a platform we use on the project between RB Rail joint venture and the implementing bodies and beneficiaries to align on these approaches. So there will be further information coming out as we go on. And what are our expectations towards suppliers as well? Of course, we need to work together. So it's not just sort of a one-way street, it's a two-way street. We're talking about working together. We're talking really about making sure together that we succeed. And so we also expect our suppliers to find opportunities for alternative supplies and alternative suppliers. We know it's difficult, and there may be different problems around that. Also, the new supply chains at some point may become saturated, and there may be some bottlenecks that we encounter. But this is something that needs to be worked at. Also, the mitigation of price volatility. So it's something that we can step forward towards the suppliers in terms of the mechanisms that we are currently contemplating applying. But we also would like that this is a step also towards us from the supplier side in making that effort. And of course, providing competitive and good quality supplies and services is what we always expect, and now it becomes even more relevant. In terms of key tenders, just a brief overview. RB Rail, the joint venture, has the consolidated procurement or consolidated materials procurement already ongoing, which we continue with new packages this year. And my dear colleague Martin Splaus will later on give more of an overview of that in this afternoon. And there will be new packages of fencing and noise walls also coming up later on this year. So currently we have already the Kaunas-Vilnius design tender ongoing, and there will be also the Kaunas-Polish border design tender coming up. The energy subsystem design tender, energy subsystem design and build tender will be coming up fairly shortly. So please keep updated with our website. That is going to be coming out over the next weeks. And then the CCS subsystems design and build packages will be prepared later on this year and are coming out from the start of next year. There are other management systems, IT tools, studies and supporting services that we will tender this year, and you will see all this information, of course, from our website as well. So there is a link on this slide which takes you to the project website where the procurement plan is published, and of course the information is there. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to contact us on that. In terms of the implementing bodies in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, it's a pleasure that also the implementing body representatives are here with us today, and they will be telling you more about their particular tenders and opportunities for everybody coming up this year and what their progress is later on. The main items that we are doing in terms of each of the countries is, of course, the railway mainline construction, local facilities, terminals and civil structures and so on, which they will tell you more precisely later on in their presentation block. So the key messages from procurement side: please keep informed with the tendering opportunities, and also we will provide you communication from our side. For anybody that is already registered on our newsletter, procurement newsletter, you will receive regular updates as we go on, as we update the information. For anybody that's not yet registered, please note that there are two newsletters on the Rail Baltica project site. One is a general newsletter and another is a procurement newsletter. So please do register yourself on there so you get regular updates when we send them out. And of course, procurement best practice is changing. It has been changing in the region ever since the COVID pandemic started, and we have been finding new ways and better ways for doing things, and it keeps changing as we go on. So that is something that we have to keep in mind. And later on, you will receive more information, more precisely, of course, also on the energy subsystem, CCS, and materials procurement from my colleagues that will present that information in their blocks later on. Just a few tips in terms of procurement policy. Of course, we have this available from the project website. Newsletters which I mentioned, please register yourself for receiving the newsletters. Supplier declarations is part of our procurement policy. We expect that our suppliers will sign up to the supplier declarations and that they uphold the integrity of implementation and the values and requirements that we have in there. The information is all available from our website, and of course we undertake e-procurement. So when we talk about e-procurement, please note that there are 3 systems that are in use on this project. So RB Rail and the Latvian implementing body, they undertake e-procurement on the Latvian e-procurement system, whereas the Estonian implementing body undertakes their procurement exercise on the Estonian e-procurement system, which you will hear about later on. And also the Lithuanian implementing body will undertake procurement exercises on their respective procurement system. So for anybody wanting to participate, please note this information and make sure that you are registered early enough on these systems. And of course, regarding the main tips, we always provide the main tips for suppliers to ensure that you're aware of what is going on and what is necessary to keep in mind to be successful in tenders. And later on, my colleague Aigar Benfelder will also provide you with an overview and information on main tips and main pitfalls, what to avoid in submitting tenders. So that overall completes my presentation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. I think indeed, and this is, let's say, an indication where the procurement team, extended procurement team of Rail Baltica is working closely in these present times to address the challenges, the uncertainties. There is, I understand, a huge part of magic that needs to be put to make, or let's say, this chemistry work, and therefore also being in regular contact also with industry is of particular importance. And that's, and let's say today's event is one of the events giving that opportunity. Therefore, also reminding on the opportunity to use Slido application, hashtag Rail Baltic Procurement 2022, and please ask your questions. I had a glimpse during the at least my 3-minute pause on the or let's say on this webinar materials, including the videos. Yes, they will be available also post after this webinar on the project webpage. There were news that we also have a YouTube account, so also there. But let's say so railbaltic.org is the place to look for. both for the webinar materials, but also on the news across the project, and also the procurement plans. They are also there. There was one specific point on noise walls, I think Christian already mentioned, and more details will come together with the report from Martin Blaus on the consolidated materials and on CCS and NS subsystems. So please keep with us together, because on both these strategic procurements, dedicated presentations will be ensured in the second part of this webinar. But yes, thank you, Christian, once again. We will meet once again for the panel discussion. But now it is as important as the joint venture, the cross-border, the global projects, procurements, also look at the ambitious plans of what is being planned at national level. And therefore we will have 3 presentations from 3 partners of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, from the national partners. And therefore I'm happy to give floor to Marko Kivila, the Chief Operations Officer of Rail Baltica Estonia. Marko, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kirt. So hello, my name is Marko Kivila. As Kirt said, yes, COO of Rail Baltica Estonia, and I will be giving a short introductory overview about Rail Baltica Estonia's key procurements in the year 2022. So an overview about how this presentation is set up. So I have taken the liberty of splitting our procurement plan into quarters based on the publication dates of the procurements. And within these quarters, I will also show you the procurements being split into 4 of the main categories that we have. So we have the category of stations and terminals, viaducts and ecoducts, utilities crossings, and mainline railway. So as was told before, this year will be a year of construction. This is true also for Rail Baltica Estonia. We will have one major design procurement coming up in the second quarter. This will be the design of the local stations in Harju and Pärnu County. But everything else you will see here on this presentation will be the construction procurements. So just a quick side note about this, what Christian ended, how to take part in our procurements. So our procurements are all published in the Estonian procurement registry, ERHR. I have a slide about that at the end of my presentation. The procurement notices for procurements over the international threshold are also available in TED as well, which is the European publication website. A little side note about the dynamic purchasing systems that we have. As Christian mentioned, the dynamic purchasing systems are something that we would like to use to increase the productivity of our procurements. So Rail Baltica Estonia has launched 2 dynamic purchasing systems. These are the dynamic purchasing systems for ecoducts and viaducts, and a separate one for utility crossings. The side note being that these dynamic purchasing systems, their general notices are available in the procurement, in the Estonian procurement registry and also in TED. But in order to take part in the dynamic purchasing systems, or rather the specific procurements launched under the dynamic purchasing systems, you will have to register in the dynamic purchasing system itself. So watch out for this little remark. So starting with the first quarter that has already passed, but still one major ongoing procurement, and this is the big one for Rail Baltica Estonia, not only in this year, but generally throughout the project. This is the construction of the Ülemiste terminal. This procurement does not only entail the construction of the terminal building, but also quite a lot of railway construction, namely the relocation of the 15-20 millimeter gauge railway that is existing right now in the area. The deadline for submission of tenders is the 23rd of May this year. The estimated cost of the procurement is more than 176 million euros. So it is one of the biggest tenders in actually Estonian history as well. So since the procurement has already been launched, you can get acquainted with the procurement documentation at the Estonian procurement registry. And I would like to remind you that you can also communicate with Rail Baltica Estonia through the Estonian procurement registry. You can ask questions about the procurement documentation, and you can also give your own proposals about possible changes to the procurement itself if you find that necessary. So the second quarter, here we have under stations and terminals the design procurement of the local stations in Harju and Pärnu County, which I was talking about before. We will launch 2 procurements for ecoducts in the second quarter, the Tammiste ecoduct and the Selja ecoduct. So these procurements will be launched under the dynamic purchasing system. So you must register under the dynamic purchasing system to take part in these procurements. And thirdly, we will have one procurement for utilities crossings works as well, which is the gas line crossing in the Pärnu area. This gas line crossing will not be launched under the dynamic purchasing system for utilities. It will be launched as a separate procurement. So the third quarter, as you can see, is planned only for procurements regarding utilities crossings. Another gas line crossing in the Kiisa and Saku area. Again, this gas line crossing will be launched outside of the dynamic purchasing system. But 2 high voltage crossings, construction for these crossings will be launched within the dynamic purchasing system, and these crossings are located in the Rapla and Harju area. So the fourth quarter, as you can see, will be a really busy quarter for Rail Baltica Estonia, starting off with the major procurements of the mainline railway substructure constructions. So we will start the procurements of 2 sections in the fourth quarter. The section of Ülemiste-Soodevahe, which will be a 10-kilometer long section, and the section of Rapla County line until Melivere, 11.8 kilometers. So these will be the first Rail Baltica mainline substructure construction procurements in Estonia at the end of this year. And we will also be launching major owner supervision procurements for these construction activities as separate service procurements. We also have one more utilities crossing procurement in the Harju area. A high voltage line needs to be rerouted. This will be launched again under the dynamic purchasing system for utilities crossings. Under the segment of stations and terminals, we will have 3 procurements, with the procurement of the first stage of the Muuga freight terminal being the major one of those. So this will be the first stage of regarding this Muuga freight terminal, and in this first stage we will procure the relocation of the existing 15-20 millimeter railway lines in order to make room for the subsequent construction of the actual Rail Baltica infrastructure, which will be the subject of another procurement later on. In the Pärnu area, under stations and terminals, we will have 2 procurements, one regarding the Pärnu passenger project, but this procurement launched this year will be the construction of the Lao Street for this terminal area. The terminal, Pärnu passenger terminal procurement for the construction of the terminal itself will be launched in 2023. And we will also be launching the first stage of the Pärnu maintenance facility construction. So under this first stage, we will actually be making the area of the infrastructure maintenance facility ready to act as a materials depot for the construction of the main line railway in that general Pärnu area. Under viaducts and ecoducts, we will have one viaduct, the Rukki viaduct, and one ecoduct, the Tagadi ecoduct, ending the year. These will be launched under the dynamic purchasing systems. As a general remark about viaducts and ecoducts, we will try to launch more procurements that you can see in this current presentation, but this will be determined on the stage and readiness of the design. This is today our best knowledge within this presentation. If we are able to get the designs any sooner, we will try to launch more procurements for viaducts and ecoducts this year. So Christian already was talking about the main concerns that we have in this current market situation. Just to reiterate, Rail Baltica Estonia also notes quite particularly that there will be an impact on participation in our tenders due to the risky situation of the supplier market. And we also expect that there might be a large impact on our budget due to bids with very large risk margins. So Christian was talking about the various ways how we try to mitigate these effects. Here in this presentation, just would like to show you the 3 activities that we have decided in Rail Baltica Estonia to implement as soon as possible. So the first one will be the sharing of risks regarding any costs for the contractor through the use of indexing in our construction procurements. The second action that we plan to use is to have larger than previous advance payments in our construction contracts. To enable for larger upfront material purchases to make more stability for the contractor. And the third action will be to change the payment regime that we have had currently. The current regime is payment for works done after they are done, but we will implement a new regime where we can also pay for materials that have been delivered to site, and also for materials that are not delivered to site, but that are identifiable in stocks. So to end this presentation, just a note on how you can find our procurements through the Estonian e-procurement registry. The easiest way would be to Google ERHR. One more note, when trying to participate in our procurements, you can find the help button there in the first page. And under there you can find some really useful guides in English, and also some great video guides which will help you make your bids in our procurements. So this concludes the presentation from my part, and thank you, and I yield the floor to my colleagues.
Thank you, Marko. And indeed, participants have a look at the ongoing procurements, especially on this glorious Ulmiste station designed by Zaha Hadid. Another station owner, if I may say, is in Latvia, and we are in Riga today, also streaming from Riga. There were some traffic jams, but nice ones as I saw the project, the construction works going on physically. Yeah, so, but not on the central station, I think, this time, but I have the honor to give floor to Kaspars Vingris, the CEO of the Latvian implementing body, Eiropas Dzelzceļa Līnijas. Kaspar, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody, current and future partners. I'm really honored to speak on behalf of Eiropas Dzelzceļa Līnijas, Latvian national implementing body. My presentation will be short and informative about procurements, ongoing, upcoming, and also one slide about project status in Latvia today. This last year, we are focusing actually on two major tasks. First is to continue construction. It means we have currently two ongoing construction sites, Riga Central Station section, which creates few traffic jams, as Girts mentioned before. Also around Riga airport, already 1 year we are going with a good pace with construction. But our second aim is to start construction outside Riga area, and we are aiming to our priority to connect first southern section of Latvian mainline, meaning Riga Lithuanian border. As I mentioned, most of our procurements are ongoing. Actually, repeatedly mentioned mainline construction procurement. I'm really proud to mention it also today. It is ongoing procurement. It covers geographically entire Latvia from Estonian border to Lithuanian border. There are around 200 kilometers of construction works. We just received 6 offers. Thank you for good quality, and we are evaluating those offers in order to invite candidates for second stage to submit technical and financial proposals. So we are aiming to conclude this contract very beginning of the next year in order to start construction works already next year. Also, construction supervision tender, we have completed this first stage already. We have also 4 offers. Those are very experienced and internationally recognized companies, both from construction area and also from supervision and engineering areas. And also this supervision contract will be signed till the end of this year or very beginning of the next year. Regional connectivity, this is also ongoing procurement. Currently, we are tendering design for regional stations at 17 locations in Latvia, and this is very important procurement because it will provide not only international mobility but also regional mobility within country and between Baltic countries. Also, design shall start already this year. Next, those are 3 very important local infrastructure facilities. Without those facilities, infrastructure can't operate in future. Those are freight terminal. Also, design tender is ongoing currently. We are ready to conclude the contract very soon in order to start design and be ready for construction after a few years. Infrastructure maintenance facilities and rolling stock depot. Infrastructure maintenance facilities are located in Skulte and Iecava. Iecava shall be emphasized because it will be not only maintenance facility during operational phase, but also it will be starting point for construction. It means that this point already next year with concluded design will be place where construction starts. It means it through this place, we will deliver all necessary materials, equipment, and so on. Also using existing railway system in order not to create some traffic jams also somewhere on mainland in Balsk outside Riga. Design of Rail Baltica rolling stock service facility in Jaunmārupe also is very necessary facility to start operation, because we need some place where to store trains, and we are planning to announce this procurement already on second part of this year, second or third quarter, and also expertise of construction design projects of regional stations and infrastructure maintenance point are very important support service what we need for design process, and this procurement we are planning to announce already this ongoing quarter this year. Also, we have some services to procure, which are not like design or construction, but related more with necessity to create infrastructure management model and system, and those are several studies and consultancies. It means that all previous procurements were focused very much on construction, design, and related expertise, but those are a bit more related with infrastructure management systems, with feasibility, with consultancy, how to create this system operational. Those tenders will be announced during next few months. I ran very briefly almost to the last slide. Land acquisition, we have here one ongoing procedure. We just today received 9 offers. We are proud of such activity and hope that we will be able to conclude this tender very soon, since we are also going outside Riga with land acquisition. It means that we need to conclude this exercise in a section from Riga till Lithuanian border as a priority section. And also we are planning to announce one more procurement related with land acquisition, which is real estate management service. We are planning to announce it closer to the end of this year, and this is related with necessity to manage those acquired land plots or buildings. It means that we are gaining some assets and we need to have some management support. And that's it. I welcome very much to participate in our procurements. I encourage all future partners to be active, to ask us questions and less claim. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaspars. I think it's listening to these presentations, I understood that actually we have almost a fantastic opportunity to meet each other during these times when actually from words the project is becoming true reality, the construction works, the procurements, etc. We have one strategic partner, Lithuania, who is joining online, Arenius Jatskos, who is the head of Rail Baltic coordination at LTG Infra. Arenius, I'm happy to see you. I understand that next week we are also having, let's say, a symbolic opening of construction works also in Lithuania on the Šveicaria Žemė section. But about that and probably much more from you. Arrhenius, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Geert, and hello to everybody for participation here, and thanks for speakers before me, to Agnes and to Madam Trautmann and Christian for very good introduction of the situation and where we are going all together. So yes, we have a poor situation, and today it would be better to have Rail Baltica sooner than later. And this situation is causing to us some challenges, but I truly believe that as well, new opportunities as well are here now to find them and to use these opportunities. So let's talk about Lithuania and our plans and activities in Lithuania. So here is the situation. Here is our key priorities. So if to look what we have, so we have already, how to call it, current Rail Baltica, perhaps 1435 section already completed, and trains running. And the next most advantageous section is from Kaunas to Latvia, where all territorial planning and land acquisition activities are already finished, and this section is in a good advanced stage of preparation of technical design. And this year it is a section, especially from Kaunas to Panevėžys or Ramygala, to be specific, where the construction activities will take place. The next section from Poland to Vilnius, it is territorial planning going on. We have some results already achieved in this section. So procurement for design, land acquisition, and services will be organized this year. So the priorities are for this year: construction in Kaunas Panevėžys, and design and land acquisition services from Poland to Vilnius in this section. So in total, perhaps we already finished construction works and other activities of the amount about 400 million euros. And the amount of already ongoing public procurements and planned procurements for this year, it is more than 600 million euros. So we are in a quite mature stage. Activities are going on, and I would like as well to use opportunity and to thank for the main investors, European Commission services and Lithuanian government services and persons working here for allowing us to move in this speed and allocating necessary financing for our activities. And as well, without the market, without construction companies, design companies, and other companies, we of course would not be able to implement planned activities. So let's move to more concrete data. So firstly, let's talk about construction procurements. So we are going to announce railway embankment structures and access roads procurements this year in 3 sections. So it is Kaunas Šveicarija, the next one is Šėta Ramygala, And the next one is Šieta Ramygala as well, but a little bit more of this section. Kilometers are indicated in the slide. So maybe here it is necessary to pay attention that till today the access roads were separated from the embankment construction procurements. We have had an idea to do this and to save some time, but today there is no point to continue that way, and procurements will be organized to have in one contract embankment, including structures, and access roads. So we have indicated quarters when we can expect the procurements will be announced. We are depending from the readiness of technical designs, and technical design preparation is going paying all possible efforts to have this technical design finished more quickly. And ASAP after this, the procurements for the construction in this sections will be announced. The next procurements will be for the technical design services. So we are going to have 5 procurements for technical designs. So it will be 4 maintenance depots in Kaunas and in Panevėžys, then Kaunas node, Vilnius node technical design, and Vilnius Kaunas regional stations connections. So it is related with the territorial planning. The idea is to save some time and to announce the procurements as early as will be enough output from territorial planning activities to have early contract signed for the technical design and not waiting till the all formal formalities will be finished with the territorial planning. So this will help us to save some time, to have a contractor in early stage and maybe even to benefit while finishing the territorial planning procedures. Perhaps it is necessary to pay attention to the Kaunas node plan procurements for technical design. Here we have a situation when it is infrastructure of station and infrastructure of regional urban node, and we are responsible for preparation of technical design here, but as well we need to assure that the main line will cross this local nodes without any restrictions. So we are going to do this procurements in cooperation with our partners and colleagues from Rail. So it may be common procurement. So we are going to have coordinated design activities very well in this node for Kaunas node design and mainline design. In essence, the same situation is with acquisition services. As well, we are going to announce these procurements as early as possible, and when it will be enough outputs from territorial planning to give the same as in the technical design case. And we are going to have these procurements for Kaunas Vilnius, Kaunas Poland infrastructure maintenance depot, and Kaunas node. So these procurements are coming because we almost have necessary information to do these procurements. And my time is already finished. So the last slide, all information is announced in the Central Public Procurement Information System. We have a good information spread about the procurement in our websites and in Rail. websites, but here you see the address of official website, so please follow the information there. And I would like to join this invitation from my colleagues from Latvia and Estonia. Please come. Please come to procurements prepared, and very strongly I would like to ask to pay attention to the preparation how to implement the contracts, the future possible contracts, in the best way, in the more quickest way, because really today we do not have time for very long discussions, for very long, different issues. We need to solve all questions very quickly and just to move with the implementation of the project. So perhaps that's it about all war restrictions my colleagues already told. We have legislation changed recently in Lithuania. Some evaluation will be done during a procurement process already, and the participants from the countries listed in the legislation cannot participate as well with the products from these countries. So we hope that this will be solved more quickly because it's additional legislation already in place. So thank you very much for your attention, and very good luck in the procurements, and I'll hope that we can accomplish.
Pardon. Shall we? Okay.
Good day, all. I'm CFO and board member of joint stock company Rail, and I'd like to invite three representatives, four actually, for panel discussion. It's Kristian Pirsalu, Chief Procurement Officer of joint venture company Rail. Kristian, please join us. Also Anvar Salomets, Rail Baltica, Rail Baltica Estonia CEO and Chairman of the Board. Kaspars Vingris, Chairman of the Board of Europos Linijas from Latvia. Welcome. And Arenijus Jackus, Head of Rail Baltica Coordination of LTG Infra, who is joining us online. So we have quite a panel here. Please continue asking us questions on Slido, Rail Baltica Webinar 2022, and we will answer your questions. And I'll begin with some of the questions to colleagues from my part. And to start with, I'd like to ask all four of you on what challenges do you see on existing contracts, and how do you plan to address them, and what's the way forward of this? So maybe Kaspars, we can start from you, from Latvia.
Yeah, thank you. We are really proud that we are still able to continue our construction works. So I can say that short-term impact is not even, we can't yet evaluate the short-term impact since we just experienced pandemic and now we are entering in other crises. We are working according to our budget and time schedule. We are able to make indexation for price changes, but I can't yet tell you about long-term impact. This shall be assessed during next month.
Okay, thank you. Anvar?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, yeah, the first message what we gave to the market is that there will be no postponing inside our investment program. So definitely, as Kaspars already said, we will and we should prolong with the existing programs And yes, there is the huge volatility, what we see. The prices of the construction inputs are changing rapidly, up and down, so there is no balance point reached yet. But the measures what we have been taken already are, let's say, the soft measures, extra time, some better payment regime, and of course there is the need to use the tough measures as well, mainly the extra money, and that's the message to the market. We see that all those contracts we have already have, let's say, quite a localized impact. So those mitigation measures I mentioned will mostly cover this volatility issue.
Thank you. Reinius, can I ask you from online on the existing contracts management?
Yeah, thank you, Ignas. As my colleague said, today we already know that we have a situation. Yes, we have a situation which is not clear. We are not able today to do a very exact forecast how the situation will be developing and what we will have. So perhaps the main idea is, to understand the situation, to have a talk with our contractors, and to be ready to solve this, because, price is price, the market price, and of course it is necessary to pay this price. But as I said, it is in this situation new opportunities, and maybe it will appear that a new logistic chains will appear. Maybe it will appear that a new suppliers of materials will appear, and we know this, and perhaps only some time in the future we will be able to sit to speak and to find the solutions. Some instruments we have in the contracts as well. The dialogue is going on with all institutions, how we need to treat the situation, and I'm really sure that with common efforts we will be able to find solutions how to move forward. But today, this day, everything is going on, and I think there is no any excuse to stop and to think what to do, just to implement contracts, to work and to solve issues when they will be clear and the possible solutions will be there. Thanks.
Thank you, Reinius. Well said. Christian, from a Rail perspective?
Thank you. Yes, we have to, I believe, also keep in mind that different contracts, they have different input price and different structures. So some contracts may have more to do with certain metals, for instance, others more with concrete or some aggregates. Some are service contracts. So in that regard, it's very much at the moment case by case review of where the issues may be. But as colleagues have said as well, the market is very much volatile at the moment. So to have a standard solution ready in that regard is very tricky, to say the least. However, what we can do and what is key here is that to go on in that such kind of a volatile situation is to build in the ability to deal with the volatility itself as such. And that's the key here, to have these mechanisms available, to have these structures in the contract that allow us to do that. And we're not talking about just sort of particular item price or the particular item price increase. We're talking about the fluctuation up and down both directions. And until the market settles, it's simply the best way to deal with it is to build in the ability to deal with the volatility itself.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue on the same topic with Kaspars maybe then. How, from your perspective, do you evaluate force majeure risk in your current contracts?
Currently, actually, we are working and discussing with our partners individually, case by case. But those challenges actually are common for all Europe. Those are the same conditions, the same challenges. And my suggestion would be that at least for Rail Baltica, between three implementing countries, we need to invent some common approach in order to address those issues based on common explanations and speak with our partners the same messages. And especially if, especially in Latvia, we are very much relying on FIDIC contracts, and all those conditions are very clear actually there. So we are able to speak about some turbulent conditions, and we need to solve them definitely. But this approach, how to solve those risks, we need to invent, I think, all together, all three countries, RB Rail, on common ground.
Mm-hmm. And to continue with that, like to ask Christian, then is it possible to undertake procurement in such volatile market situation now, or is it not worth to wait until market settles?
Yes, this is a good question, and of course we are keen to continue with the project, and we see that there is much need for this project going forward, and thus we also are keen to continue development of the project. So when it comes to, as we've been just talking about the volatility of the market, then what comes to procurement is we have different ways of procuring and different procedures that we can apply. So also, for instance, as I mentioned in my presentation, the ability to undertake framework procurement or dynamic purchasing systems, which allow us to move ahead, get the market's interest, get the market involved already. But by that time then, as the volatility settles, we will be able to go on with the next phases. So we believe that there are mechanisms at the moment that we can apply to continue, so that the volatility of the market doesn't hinder the project development as such.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll come up with Slido questions in a minute. Just a few more questions. Arrhenius, to you. European Union and Baltic states are now acting on sanctioning suppliers and supplies, and including transport from Russia and Belarus. And Lithuania took even some more actions from suppliers related to China. And can you elaborate a bit for our suppliers more on the principles and process which suppliers cannot apply, and how does it work for Lithuania procurements in Rail Baltica?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think it is important. So perhaps it is important to understand that there are perhaps two categories here. So first of all, it is a war situation, and created, let's say, enforced sanctions, which is related to Russia, Belarus, some parts, occupied parts of Sakartvelo, Crimea, and it is in legislation that the companies from these parts of world cannot participate in the procurement, and cannot use the material from these countries. And already during the procurement processes, the regulation in the procurement documentation will be put in, and this will be evaluated. So then it is sanctions itself. What is said in the sanctions, everybody is obliged to be in line with enforced sanctions. So here, to my understanding, is quite clear information and understandable. The section part of the question, it is formal procedure of checking if it is no threats for national security. So in this situation, implementing body or procurement body, we are not taking decisions ourselves according legislation. We are giving the procurement results to the special body under the government of Lithuanian Republic, and they are evaluating in a little bit wider scope, not only the contract itself, but using the information from different services. They are evaluating a threat to national security issues, and then we just receiving a permission to enter to sign the contract or on the contrary, prohibition. So it's two parts. So one part is created by the war and sanctions itself. It's in legislation. It will be in the procurement documents, and the other is national security check in the office of Lithuanian government. If I answer it clearly.
Yeah, thank you, Arrhenius. Very clear. Probably the last question then on the sanctions, and Anvar, I'll come back to you very shortly. Just final question to Christian then. What actions has Rail Baltica project taken in the light of the Ukraine war and sanctions?
Yes, this is a really important topic, and we noticed already before the breakout of the war, which nobody expected to happen in this day and age, that there were discussions about some potential sanctions from the EU that were requested also by Ukraine. So it wasn't a complete surprise to us, and therefore we were able to also act quickly following the breakout of the war when the sanctions were coming in. We also started to analyze from the Rail Baltica project perspective, what are the risks and what from the pragmatic project implementation point of view we need to do to relieve the risks of the project in terms of potential future eligibility issues, implementation issues, delays, and so on. And so we have actually done quite a thorough analysis of project governance, national legislation, EU legislation and international legislation, including the World Trade Organization Government Procurement Agreement and so on. So where we are currently is, as I mentioned, we exclude obviously the Russian and Belarusian companies from our tenders. However, there are further restrictions that are possibly coming up as well, and that we see are necessary to safeguard the project implementation and overall the EU taxpayer from the financing perspective. Therefore, these proposals we will also make from our side to the governments of the Baltic countries as well. So we have done a lot of work across the project together with our partners. And this work continues as we are here today.
Okay, thank you. Anvar, from Estonia perspective then, can you name some opportunities for suppliers in Estonia in upcoming years, this year, next year? And can you elaborate more about upcoming procurements and especially about the construction in Ülemiste terminal?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, Ülemiste is my personal favorite. But first of all, a few words about procurement list, which will be, of course, extensive. Cannot wait the second half of the year and the next year. So, of course, on top of it, there is the Ülemiste terminal. There will be the remaining first priority objects procured already this year. We are talking about up to 10 viaducts, aqueducts, which should be procured, as said, this year. There will be the first stage of Muuga freight terminal construction tender, and of course the first construction sections of Rail Baltica main line. So it will definitely give a very good ground for the suppliers, for the contractors in the coming year, and as said, also at the end of this year.
Okay.
When it comes to the Ülemiste, of course, this is the flagship project, and even the 0 point of the Rail Baltica. Sorry, colleagues. But
Entrance.
yeah, this is the entrance to the Rail Baltica in terms of passengers, but this is also the entrance or the new entrance to Estonia. Definitely a huge complexity of different engineering disciplines, but I believe this is what the market is keen on. And when it comes to the construction tender, the tender is already published. We as a procurement entity are waiting, let's say, a very tough bidding process or procedure, and of course next to the or near to the estimated budget. The real complexity comes from the existing 1520 railway network, which is operational and should be operational during the construction works. So this is the backbone, what actually drives all the stages and all the logic in terms of the construction works. So yeah, definitely the biggest tendering scope so far in the Estonian history.
Okay, thank you, Anvar. We see in Slido popping up quite a number of questions, and one of them is, can we provide some more details on procurement plan for construction tenders? So just for you to know that on railbaltica.org we have procurement plan uploaded there, and you can follow procurements there. Maybe Kaspars and Arrhenius, you can elaborate as well a bit on procurement principles, plans for this year and next year for construction tenders. Kaspars, maybe to start.
Yeah, as I already presented during my presentation, we have already ongoing this major and ambitious construction project, and the same also we are very proud of this since it is probably the most ambitious project currently ongoing on Europe. I don't know bigger tender currently. But for the construction this and next year, actually, this is it. We are continuing to develop already existing construction sites. And I forgot to mention, actually, during my presentation that this mainline procurement does not include Riga section. So this section will be available for procurement during next few years according to completed design sections. So this is something what we are ready to start, meaning this Riga section during next few years.
Okay. Arrhenius, maybe you?
Yes, thank you. I just switched on. I'm not sure I was able to read all questions, but I'll try to answer. So to be concrete, yes. So the part from Kaunas till Panevėžys is divided into into 5 procurements. I would say very tough. So part 2 and part 3, the procurement is going on, and we hope to have a contract signed in the nearest, let's say, 2 months. Then we will have the procurement for the 4th part, and in the 3rd quarter and in the 4th quarter we will have procurement for the first part from Kaunas till the bridge, and bridge is already signed. So Well, the next stage of procurements is coming and depending from the technical design. So Kaunas, Latvia section technical designs are a little bit later. So we can talk about the procurements in 1-2 years. It depends when we will have technical designs. And for the parts from Poland to Vilnius, we are going to have contracts for design and land acquisition this year. Then roughly land acquisition and technical design 2023-2024. And in the year 2025, you can expect tenders for the construction of the whole line from Poland to Vilnius. It is in line with the Polish plans because I saw the question from Warsaw to Kaunas. So our Polish colleagues are telling us that they are ready to deliver a totally brand new railway infrastructure from Elk till Lithuanian border, according to Rail Baltica standards and parameters. And it may happen in 2026, 2027, perhaps. Of course, it is signaling and electrification part for which our colleagues from Rail responsible. They can answer perhaps themselves about the plans to deploy these systems, but more or less to have understanding when the constructions in the Lithuanian territory it will be. So here is an information, and of course it depends from financing. Currently, we have money for the procurements. We are doing these procurements, but as well, it is in essence important, very important that this financing would continue till the end of the implementation of the project. So we have a very good cooperation and very big interest from our investment from the European Commission and member states. So I really hope that this financing will be on table and we will deliver the result in just time scale I just described. Thanks.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Arrhenius. Well said. I'd like to ask Christian, there is a number of questions on Slido about the systems, control, command and signaling, as well as electrification, procurements and way forward. Maybe you can elaborate a bit on both, and for audience to know that we will have presentation by our team as well later on in greater detail, but maybe just shortly mention what's the process, what's the way forward.
Thank you. Yes. So regarding the system, so we have the electrification program where we are currently doing the final steps before procurement launch for the design and build. And our colleague Aiga Benfelder will give an overview in more specifics later on this. Where we are today and how it's planned. So we plan to launch the procurement procedure fairly soon over the next weeks, and it's a design and build package. It's in one lot, or basically it's not divided into several parts. However, within the contract there is phasing, so the work and also the financing within the contract will happen in phases, as of course we have the financing iterations on how the project itself is financed from the European grants. So according to that, we have these financing iterations and phases within the contract. And you will hear, of course, later on from Aiga more detail on this. Regarding command, control and signaling, then there as well, we are currently working together with the CCS engineer who we got on board fairly recently as well, at the beginning of this year. And we're working together on building up the packages that need to be delivered as part of the design and build for that. What our aim is to build up to complete the package for procurement by the end of this year, and to launch the procurement of the CCS design and build packages beginning of next year. So please do keep yourself up to date with how and what we do. Of course, there will be further information that we will give out as we go on and how the project develops further on this year. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Anvar, maybe you can help us to answer the Volodymyr question about the substations. So he's asking, how about high voltage electric substations? Do you plan to build new ones or connect the network to existing substations? Can you share more information?
Yeah, actually, from the technical point of view, when we are talking about the public high voltage substations, there is the need to have all brand new ones. And as we have the Estonian example, there is already the agreements with the TSOs to build 2 of these new substations. So yeah, the answer is that according to my knowledge, in each country there should be the locations fixed, and according to those fixed locations, there will be those new substations which will be connected to the public network.
And for the audience, we have already signed in all 3 countries contracts with national TSO companies of energy to further develop the network. Arrhenius, I'd like to ask you on future operations. There are a number of questions as well. Who is planning to buy rolling stock and on rolling stock plans, including there is a question about the language for operations for train dispatchers. Will be Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian, or English?
Okay, thank you for the question. Well, we are developing infrastructure according legislation of European Union. This infrastructure will be open for all operators. So I don't think that I'm not sure that Infra, as an infrastructure manager, will not buy trains and will not operate in this network. So this network will be open for every operator who will want to operate here. Well, we have some cases in other countries with the public service operation contracts. It is perhaps too early to discuss here if it will be maybe necessary for some routes, but the idea is that we are developing infrastructure, paying a lot of attention to the operators. For them, this infrastructure shall be a good, comfortable, and cheap as possible to do business on this network. So the answer to that question about operations language, well, we still have time till infrastructure will be in place to answer to this question legally. But I can tell you that we have meetings every week with institutions responsible for infrastructure management. So it is EESL in Latvia and RBE in Estonia. And we have on table these issues, not only the operational language, but all infrastructure, coordinated infrastructure management issues on table. And we have a concrete plan how to deliver this infrastructure management model and implement it together with legislation till start of the operation. Yes, we have a common agreement, not legally fixed, but we have a common agreement that the operation language will be English.
Okay, so we'll speak English. Then we are becoming short of time. Maybe then the final questions. Kaspars, maybe you are plans for the opening the railway changing because of the geopolitical situation? And I would add additional maybe then immediately what we can do to support Ukraine, and that would be the question to everyone else after that.
Thank you. Indeed, currently we are experiencing great support from our government. We are experiencing great commitment also from European Commission, and we feel united, friendly, and committed European Union. But also we are ready to deliver the same for our Ukraine friends in order to support them. There are numerous ways what we can do. Starting from very small practical things like offer them employment opportunities. We are ready to be flexible and offer them fitting opportunities if they have some necessary competencies in whatever railway administration or other fields. Also, this would create some knowledge to Ukraine people in order to keep this pace towards Ukraine direction towards Europe, in order to, if future would allow us to create even new connection to Kiev, European railway connection, and this would reconnect Ukraine the same way as we are aiming currently to the Europe.
Okay, thank you. Christian?
Yes, thank you. So what we have done already in terms of the support, and not only, of course, because of moral and ethical reasons, but also for practical reasons, is apply restrictions. And we're working on proposals for future restrictions as well. So that's one thing, how the project side can support Ukraine and also support the project, and also support other suppliers that are from non-aggressor countries to have better opportunities in our tenders. And of course, this is work we continue doing. And of course, on the individual level, we all support in various ways, either donating or doing some activities for the benefit of Ukraine. So that is no less important than what we do on the project. So thank you.
Okay, Andor?
Yeah, actually, from a very pragmatical point of view, I would say that we are already in a very good common ground, as Christian already explained several times. But on the other hand, we see that our Lithuanian colleagues have made one step further. So that's probably also the next step for the whole Rail Baltica family, to propose, or at least to make a proposal for the policymakers to get this picture aligned throughout the Rail Baltica or inside the Rail Baltica family in the same way.
Okay. Arrhenius?
Yes, it's perhaps a question which arises to perhaps almost everybody today. So I fully join the idea set by my colleagues, and yeah, I am sure that already this fast part we already constructed, 1435 connection, will definitely pay its role in the all Baltic countries' security and Ukraine as well. But I think that first of all, we can help Ukrainians with implementing the project. So we need to do our job as good as we can. The same applies to the contractors. It's necessary to think about the implementation of the contract, not about the maximum, increase of profit, but just pay attention to implement the contract in time, in scope, in the budget. So here, how we can help Ukraine to do our job very well. I don't think that we need to go to fight or to do something like this, because everybody should do its job. Our job is to implement the project, and we need to do it as good as and as soon as we can. Yes, and maybe to think about the future as well. And I like very much the idea to connect here with Rail Baltica, and perhaps we will do this definitely.
Thank you. So we see that geopolitical importance of Rail Baltica is even increased in this current geopolitical situation. So we're looking forward to implement Rail Baltica as soon as possible. And there is full commitment from European Commission, from the Baltic states, and Poland and Finland to implement this project, and we're looking forward for it. We have a number of questions as well still not answered on Slido. So we will upload on our webpage the questions and answer them so that everyone can have a look. And I thank to the suppliers who asked the questions. Thank you for the panel answering the questions, and gets back to you.
Yes, this time testing new ways how to get to the stage. But so with this, and thank you once again also to the panelists and also moderator Ignas Degutis, the CFO of the joint venture. So we closed the first part. Yeah, and then just shortly looking back, and Arrhenius, thank you. Yeah, also online, thank you very much for participating. But looking back on the first part, so we heard Agnis Driksna's speech as a joint venture CEO, stressing 3 points at least that I have particularly noted. One was on the, let's say, looking back at the quarterly progress, and that within the project has been significant. Strategic long-term contracts have been signed. Then also priorities and for the next for the rest of the year, and also the increased cooperation between the project partners. Yeah, not only in the Baltics but also with the EU, and I think finishing with an important point in these times when the joint values are tested. Yeah, that I think also seeing between ourselves and our colleagues within the Rail Baltica delivery team, the passion that we dedicate truly and fully to the implementation of the project for the benefit of the Baltic and EU partners and people. Then we had the fantastic opportunity that Madame Catherine Trautmann joined the webinar online, and I think there were several key points both for the Baltic states and the project partners, but also to the suppliers. And I have noted some, definitely reconfirming the increased role of Rail Baltic within the existing geopolitical situation, strong commitment of EU as the best guarantee also for the suppliers, sometimes perhaps questioning how does it look, is it time to participate, should we wait a little bit? So strong commitment of EU as the best guarantee for the participants to feel safe in the region, in the project, that this is going on and proceed. Then also, yes, there was a point on, well, details on how the financing is being organized within the relatively complex different funds of EU and national budgets. Madame Trautmann asked or invited, and I think that's a message also to ourselves, to concentrate on delivery. Delivery on time and not worry about the financial time part. Well, there are of course points that have to be fixed and addressed, but concentrate on delivery in time. And then also a point that was mentioned was on corridors, yeah, and corridor synergies. And I think that's a point. Today we concentrate on procurement, yeah, and on various points of activities that are in our procurement plans. But we, within the project, have also delivered have finalized the study on corridor synergies, yeah, addressing 3 topics: digital, energy, and industrial. And I think there will be a kickoff event still in April, and then allowing further discussions within the 3 Baltic countries, but also with EU partners, on how we can use the corridor to full potential. Then it was followed by I would say, a very extensive and sparkling presentations of all the procurement elements within Rail Baltic for this year. Yeah, there were constructions, designs, strategic facilities, mainline, name it. Yeah, I think it's the how to say, the snowball of Rail Baltic maturity has started, and it's just rolling on. Therefore, it's complex. There are many elements, many activities, but therefore events like these are there to support also the industry and potential participants to understand and orient within this situation. And then the panel discussion that we just listened. We will take a 15-minute break, but at the same time, looking also on the Slido questions, the second part of this webinar will be dedicated to the 3 strategic elements on the consolidated procurements, energy subsystem, and the control command signaling subsystem. Yeah, therefore, stay tuned. Let's have, I don't know, coffee, tea, water, whatever helps, and be back in 15 minutes. It's definitely worth it. Thank you. Welcome back to the Rail Baltic Procurement Webinar 2022. So we are starting the second part of today's event. The first one was dedicated for the strategic vision and priorities, as well as introduction of the procurement plans across the project delivery organizations, as well as a panel discussion between the project family members on how to address the uncertainties that we face today. Together with clear stress for the importance or growing importance of Rail Baltica in this present geopolitical situation, there were several practicalities that were also discussed. The recordings as well as the presentations will be available on the project webpage, railbaltic.org, as after the event, as well as the questions that have been received. Some of them, it was possible to address them already in the event. Some we will collect and then address afterwards. Now we are turning to the second part on the critical points, or let's say critical procurements, strategic procurements, long-term procurements on consolidated materials, as well as energy and control command signaling subsystems. And also for this session, there is an opportunity for you to ask questions using the Slido platform and using the hashtag Rail Baltica Procurement 2022. So please do. It's a great opportunity. We have a fantastic team of experts present also today, and we start. We start with an overview on the consolidated procurements. I have a pleasure to introduce Mr. Martin Blaus, the procurement manager at the Rail Baltic joint venture RB Rail, and in a way, I would say, a guru of consolidated procurements. Martin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for this. Strategic, even more. It's very important in this current geopolitical situation, better call war in Europe. Therefore, I will provide you within my presentation, first of all, on a status where we currently are with the announced procurements. I will give brief intro on the challenges that we have faced throughout the key procurements, key consolidated material procurements which are ongoing. Then I will go through a couple of approaches and solutions, what we are looking at, developing the contracts and establishing the approach towards the consolidated supply over the construction works for the specific key materials. And then, of course, I will give you as well information about future procurements that shall be announced still this year. Just a quick reminder, this consolidated procurement for the key components of the railway line is the basis for this approach is, of course, availability to make sure and ensure the availability of these materials over the construction works. It's to ensure and the standardization of the key components for entire Rail Baltica line, and of course to use the advantage of the economies of the scale. Moreover, the whole approach is based on cooperation, and these agreements, what we are looking at, and procurements itself, looking at for the cooperation with the manufacturers, and more important is with the long lead items, as you may recognize. So before I begin with this slide, before I begin to provide you with the status of the procurements, I would like to say thank you to team, to the Procurement Commission members, to the experts, to my fellow colleagues in the procurement department for the progress achieved. As well, I want to mention thank you to the companies participating in these procurements, having the patience and effort they have provided during this first stage of the qualification. Therefore, I'm getting to the first item out of 5 items which we have launched last year, in the middle of the last year. One of those is supply of the multi-ducts and cable ducts manholes and cable surface channels. Currently, we have successfully finalized the first stage of the qualifications. Companies has been informed on these results. The main challenge at the moment, we are looking at the market situations and analyzing the place and time when we can actually go out with the second stage of this procurement. Therefore, what I can tell, this is soon to come. Within this month, we're planned to launch it and proceed with the bidding phase, which is actually the most important phase of entire procurement procedure. Second item is supply of the sleepers. Just decision of the qualification has been done. Market has been informed of the results. The first stage is completed. There yet we are working to launch the second stage, and we are currently gathering the information required to fill in the gaps of the market analysis, which has became evident after the war in Europe began, and supply market, raw material market has impacted very severely. Supply of rails, not yet finished with the qualification stage. Still little things to complete, but soon yet we will get into actually finalization of the first stage. Then supply of the turnouts and rail expansion joints actually has the same path with the rails. Then most probably more important to inform you is about the supply of the ballast, and because the decision has been made yesterday, and the decision was to terminate the procedure at this point in time and relaunch it as soon as we'll get the information from the market, and situation and analysis will be completed. In that regard, I would like to invite all of the companies who does the production of the ballast and supplies of the ballast keep posted and keep themselves informed about the future events. The first events which we will take will be market consultations, about which we will inform you very soon. 10. Next topic is about the current situation in the market and how actually we aim to solve these differences and big fluctuations with the supply chains currently in Europe. So basically, one of the key processes where we should concentrate to resolve these items is throughout the procurement process. Therefore, when you have the documents available, and this is one of our emphasis on the procedure, that we invite you to challenge, to ask questions about the document procurement this year available to you, and submit the questions, and they will be answers will be provided. As well, investigate the technical specification. This is not only about the parameters of the materials. It's about the supply. It's about the conditions. It's about the quality verification procedures. It's about as well subcontracting and many more key items. Then negotiations is very important moment. What we are looking at these procurements overall, this is a place basically after you have investigated the documents, this is a place where we can negotiate. This is a place where we actually see those items in the contracts which we cannot specify straightforward. We invite you to provide your opinion. We seek to align these specific conditions of the agreements with the market to achieve the best result. Therefore, these are considered as a cooperative agreements. Therefore, these are framework agreements with the flexible pricing model included, and it leads to as well indexation. The most important parts that we are looking at from the indexation is the raw material costs, it's a production cost including the energy costs, it's labor costs, and as well it leads to the transportation costs, which as well may fluctuate over the time. So as Christian as well informed previously, that this is not only about setting a price. Now it's not about even setting a price today in the procurement phase. It's more of establishing these key items, and that may lead to the reason and where we ask from our candidates in the procurements to provide us with a more detailed information about the price. So basically, breakdown of the components which consists in the price. After that is done, we strive to sign these agreements soon enough so that we can buy a time to establish this cooperation with our manufacturers and suppliers. Since the first supplies exactly we will need in a course of 1 year, somewhere even more, we need to plan the materials for long lead items is very important, for any items in transportation routes, planning, logistics, these all items are very important, and this is a place and this is a time where our teams can resolve these issues and put up front the optimum solution to getting the materials, key components for the construction of railway line in the region. About upcoming procurements. So what I have to add to this slide, it is ballast, which I mentioned, which is subject to retendering. And this year still we are looking at launching noise walls and fence. So basically keep tuned, and the process for these new procurements will be as with the first stages for the noise walls have been already taken. These are market consultations within the planning phase, then we go to the qualification, bidding phase, and afterwards contracting. Having in mind that we have had negotiations, understanding between each other, and we have resolved the main topics, and both sides of these agreements are satisfied with the result, and we may cooperate. I'm close to the end of my presentation. Just a reminder, all the information what you need to apply for these procurements is stored in our webpage. These are technical specifications, general terms of the contracts, and by any means there is as well available email address procurement@Rail Baltica. You may submit your inquiries, and we will definitely respond, or even you may initiate one or another workshop with us so that we can explain how procurement works within the Rail Baltica. Thank you so much. Thank you for attention, and I give floor back to you, Geert.
Good. Thank you, Martin. Always a pleasure.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I cannot wait until the first bucket of ballast arrives. but back to business, and that's the meaning of this webinar. Now turning to the session on the railway subsystems, energy and control command signaling, as well as the already, I would say, traditional recommendation part on how to participate in Rail Baltica procurements, or let's say what aspects to draw attention not to fail. And therefore I have the pleasure to introduce Aig Benfeld, the procurement manager at the Rail Baltic joint venture. Aigu, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. My name is Aiga Benfeld. I'm procurement manager in RB Rail. So I will close this exciting webinar with my presentation, touching some points related to CCS and energy subsystem procurements overview, and also, as Dirts mentioned, it's already a tradition to point out some guidance related to some do's and don'ts in the procurements. So let's start with the Rail Baltica energy subsystem. So here you can see, and there is illustrated all the components of the energy subsystem. And it also includes Rail Baltica responsibility, where 3 disciplines are included: overhead power supply or overhead catenary system, railway traction substations or traction power supply, and also energy control command system. So these are the 3 main disciplines which are under RB Rail scope. And the main objective of the deployment of any subsystem is to ensure uninterrupted, reliable, and safe power supply to the Rail Baltica line. And this means that whole scope of the Rail Baltica energy subsystem will be included in one procurement procedure. So 870 kilometers of double track, which means approximately 2,000 kilometers of catenary, approximately 50,000 masts, and 4,350 tons of copper. So whole scope will be procured under one procurement. At the moment, together with an engineer, the locations of railway traction substations have been fixed. So there are 10 substations. Here you can see on the right side in the map all of them. And also the technology is fixed. It is 2 times 25 kV static frequency converter technology, which also has been fixed for the NA deployment. And below you can see how will increase the energy consumption in Baltic states. It's a significant increase, starting from 2.9 till 3.5%. If we speak about the timeline, then as you can see, and a deployment process started already in 2019 with development of a strategy. Starting from April last year, an engineer was in place, and the work continued with development of different documents and deliverables. So to enter into works procurement phase, and we plan to procure and announce the procurement in upcoming weeks. And the plan is to conclude the contract in Q4 of the next year. Also in the timeline you can see that right after the contractor will be in place, work on generic design will start. And then in parallel, design, construction and commissioning activities will be ongoing. They will be in parallel as whole line won't be constructed at the same time. So the start of the activity is the start of the first priority sections, and end of the activity is with the final sections of the Rail Baltica line. And with regards to control, command and signaling subsystem, here also you can see what is included in the scope of this procurement. So all systems, pretty wide scope, which includes all railway systems except the NS scope what I presented in previous slides. So here you can see ETCS, which will be level 2 with a radio system, also interlocking ancillary systems, including hotbox detection and rail monitoring and other systems, then traffic management system and transmission, communication and power supply, including passenger information system and ticketing. If we speak here about the timeline, we are not in such mature position as for any deployment. So here we have contracted CCS engineer at beginning of this year. So Now only the work on the main deliverables has been started, and we plan to announce the procurement at some point end of this year, beginning of next year, and to conclude the contract in 2024. Also in this case, the activities for CCS works contractor will be in parallel. So as well, design, construction, and commissioning, similarly to ENE, the activities will start with the first priority sections and end with the final sections here, because it will be dependent on finalization of civil works and ENE works as well. So this was very quickly about particular procurements, but yes, I would like to guide you through still some practicalities with regards to proposal preparation and submission. And first question, what I want to answer is where to apply. Already colleagues have mentioned, here you can see also the links to our Latvian e-tendering system. As we are procuring under Latvian public procurement law, then this is Latvian e-tendering system. And as well, you can see a link to our RB Rail profile in the system, where you can find all ongoing procurement documents, also finished procurements, and the procurement documents in those procurements. What is important, please register into this system if you haven't done it already, because all the application and proposal submission is through the system. No proposals or applications will be accepted what has been submitted outside the system. And it may take time to register, so even though maybe you don't have at the moment any particular procurement where you want to participate, still you can register and then apply when it will be needed. Then there is a line, or how to say, life before application and proposal submission and life after. So this is one limiting factor what I want to emphasize, because please be aware that you have to read carefully and be acquainted with all the information in procurement documents and all the requirements. If you don't understand something, or there are doubts on how to interpret some requirement or some information, please ask the question, because the Procurement Commission will be able to answer and clarify. However, when the proposal or application submission is there, the possibility for the Commission to clarify or allow you to clarify something from your procurement proposal documents will be much more complicated and may result in non-compliance of your proposal. It is also applicable to draft agreement, because this is also one of the annexes of procurement documents. And if you have any questions or doubts or concerns, or you want to emphasize and propose some amendments to the draft agreement, this also has to be done before the deadline of submission. So afterwards, if you will include this information in your proposal, Procurement Commission won't be able to consider that and change anything in the draft agreement. The same with regards to technical proposal. So always in procurement documents, one of the things is technical specification, which describes subject matter of the procurement and all the requirements with regards to this service or works provision. And your technical proposal should contain all information that Procurement Commission can determine if it is compliant with all minimum requirements of the technical proposal. So this means please be as clear and explicit as possible when you are describing your proposed solution or technology or equipment, so Commission can understand what you are proposing and that it is compliant with the requirements of the technical proposal. Also, the financial proposal is the part where you have to be careful. Usually we are providing templates for the detailed financial proposals. Usually it is an Excel spreadsheet, but still, even though all formulas are in, you have to usually add some additional positions or change the template, and you have to follow that all the respective formulas and calculations are correct after your changes. But of course, there are some cases when you are not allowed to change the financial proposal. So in the procurement documents, it will be clearly stated it is allowed or not. So in case it is not allowed, then you cannot change the template, merge some positions, or use a different type of cost breakdown structure, because then Commission won't be able to compare the proposals, and it may lead to a situation where as well your financial proposal can be assessed as non-compliant. So it's not only technical and financial proposal, of course, it's full package of the documents what you are submitting as your proposal. So this means that you have to cross-check all the documents what has been requested to be submitted, because again, there may be various situations, but overall there may be also situations when you have missed a document and you haven't submitted it in your initial application or proposal, and then it may lead to a situation when your proposal cannot be clarified because this document contains some significant intention or information which afterwards cannot be accepted by the Procurement Commission. So it may also lead to a situation where your application or proposal can be rejected. Regarding the partnerships, this is also a topic what I repeat in all the webinars, but I want to repeat it once again because, of course, this is the form of cooperation what is acceptable for us, and you can, of course, establish a partnership to participate in our procurements, but there are some things what you have to consider. So most probably these will be long-term relationship because most part of RB Rail procurements and contracts are long-term contracts. So if you are creating a partnership with particular company, you are actually establishing long-term relationship, and you have to be sure that this partner will be there and with the same aim and the same goal to deliver the contract. It is important also because you cannot change the members in the joint venture. It is not allowed, nor during procurement process, and also not later when you already perform under the particular contract. There are some exceptional cases as reorganization, but in general, as I said, this is a long-term relationship, so please carefully consider with whom you are creating the partnership. The next topic also is very common with the situations when a candidate relies on financial or technical capabilities of other companies to qualify. This is also acceptable. However, here the main thing what I want to emphasize is that this intention and this information should be clearly stated in your application or proposal. It means that from the documents, both from your side and from the side of that particular company, there should be an agreement or a confirmation that in case you will be awarded with contract rights, this company will provide you with the needed financial or technical resource or expertise on which you were relying during the procurement process. And this also is applicable for the holding companies. So it means even though you are two companies within the same holding, mother, daughter, sister, sister, the relationship within the holding doesn't matter. You are considered as separate legal entities. Therefore, the same applies what I presented in previous slide. Still from your mother company or sister company, such confirmation on the resource passing should be included in your application. And the last, but not the least, what I wanted to update, because this is the topic what we are facing time to time in our procurements, and this also is something that may lead to exclusion of the candidates, so the tax debt thresholds. At the moment, as we are procuring under Latvian public procurement law, it's still applicable that if the company has a tax debts in Latvia or in the country of origin of the company which exceeds 150 euros, this company has to be excluded from the participation in the procurements. So starting from 1st January next year, amendments to Latvian public procurement law will come into force, and it will include also amendments of this requirement, which means that the law will step back to that formulation what is in current public procurement directive. So this means that a company which has tax debts not more than 150 euros in Latvia and tax debt below the particular threshold of their country of origin will not be excluded. So, for example, in your country of registration, the threshold to participate in public procurements is tax debt, I don't know, below 3,000 euros. It means that if you will have a tax debt in your country of origin less than 3,000 euros and in Latvia less than 150 euros, you won't be excluded from the procurement. But please be aware, this is something that will be into force starting from 1st of January next year. It means for the procurements which will be published after 1st of January. And with this update, I'm finalizing my presentation, and I think we can proceed with the next steps, and I'm looking forward to Girts.
Good. Aigo, thank you very much. I think very valuable as always. And I think also several points raised in these questions and answers in the Slido platform were also addressed, and there were several especially on the ENE subsystem. Yeah, I think there was also an indication, and that is more mature than the CCS. Well, for both the engineers are already working on ENE. I understand that the design and build procurement can be expected already in May. So we are coming to the actually closing part of the webinar to address the questions and answers. I welcome all the three procurement team gurus joining me on the stage. I will also take a seat. But Christian Pirsalu, the head of procurement, the chief procurement officer, as well as Aiga that we just met, and Martin Blaus, the procurement also manager. And there were several points that came in, and I understand that we have also two key technical engineers, or let's say the gurus from the engineering team also joining online. Both Andrejs Mislevich, who's the deputy head of systems and operations at RB Rail, and also Ugis Sabuls, the project manager for the ENE project. But there are different questions that I have noted in the Slido session. I will invite colleagues, if there are any fresh ones, please inform me. But let's jump in. And I think to start with an easy one on the general language in Rail Baltic procurements, and I will invite Christian to comment, and perhaps also in the wider context of these common procurement standards within the Rail Baltic project in its totality?
So thank you. Yes, regarding the project language, of course, we have project governance in place that has been put in place by the three countries and the respective organizations delivering the project. And as per the governance, the official language, project language is English. Also for procurement, of course, we deliver the documents in national languages as well. So if we take an example of for instance, the design tenders that were launched previously, then of course we had the documentation available in English for the international tenders that we launched. And then of course we had translations also into national languages of the documents as well. So that is our usual standard practice, also as per the common procurement standards and guidelines. And for anybody that is not aware for any reason, then the common procurement standards and guidelines is the overall general procurement policy for the entire project, which overarches the project in terms of the requirements that we apply.
Good, thank you very much. And then, no, still, I noted one question that I will address to Martin. It's still on the noise walls. Yeah, I understand that there's an audience expecting for clarity on the noise walls. Yeah, and I think we mentioned that, but let's say there is still a question. What happened with the noise walls, or what's the plan for the noise walls?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm really glad, of course, that such questions we are receiving, because we are working hard currently on establishing the technical specification, because noise walls involves as well information from the consultant, from the design, and these solutions must be then implemented, incorporated into technical specification for the noise walls. Therefore, at this moment, we are concentrating to develop technical specification where most of the market may participate with their production. Therefore, we at the same time we are doing market research, market consultations with the manufacturers. A couple of weeks ago, we held a series of the market consultations where everybody could apply for. We gathered information, but that's not yet the limit. In case we will find out that there are gaps to establish the specification, we will of course open another round. Either we will collect the information over the correspondence. So currently we are working, and what can I tell? In the current plans, we have scheduled for end of May, June could be the date when the procurement could be announced.
Great. I think that definitely clarifies the situation. Aigu, one horizontal issue, and I think all of you can jump in, but I will invite Aiga to start. It is on how we determine the value for a procurement. Yeah, actually any, yeah, not only CCS or any the specific ones that you discussed, but let's say how we determine this value. And also I understand that that's a good point and a good question from the audience. What happens then if the planned amount is exceeded? Yeah, perhaps you can start, and then Christian, Martin, if you would like to add something.
So it depends. It depends on the subject of the procurement, because if it is a construction, then the design phase is already there, and the estimated values are in the design. If it is service procurement, then there could be situations where there is, as Martin already said, for noise barriers, there is market consultations. So we gather the understanding and also some information related to estimated values from the market also. So there are no one particular way how this is happening. Also, our technical team is producing these estimated values, considering similar projects as well. So different type of situations and procurements. So and if it is exceeded, again, there could be situations where we clearly state already in the procurement documents that there is a cap, so it cannot be exceeded, because this is maximum amount we can we can get financing for, but then it's clearly stated. And also there can be situations where it exceeds our estimate value. However, we proceed because we understand that this is feasible for us, and that value we can justify also to the financing sources. So again, the situations are different.
But if I, yeah, sorry, Christian, if I may add, in such cases where we see the bids landing above our estimate, it will be analyzed. We ask for these detailed financial proposals, breaking down the cost and finding out what's been the cause for increase what we haven't planned before, and there has to be reason. Of course, we are not willing to buy anything under the market. Their agreements are more cooperation agreements. Therefore, either this is a risk, either this is something that must be then, and we try to tackle this as well throughout the procurement with the negotiations, asking second bid when we iron out these risk conflict situations that we may foresee, if that's the case. Yeah.
Perhaps if to add to my dear colleagues on how we start the entire process and what's kind of maybe the starting point for getting the budgets in place. So we have a process for applying for grant funding. And we have this budgeting process. Of course, our way of budgeting and estimating does not very much different from any other company. We of course put in place the plans. We look at the first round of market research already is done at the time when we prepare for financing. We take a look at reference projects and what could be the maximum extent of the scope and so on. And then we do another round of market research and estimation before we go actually to procurement. And there could be differences there as well. So then, as colleagues explained, obviously we go into the detailed assessment when we get the proposals. However, what happens indeed if some prices are significantly over, we have to assess, of course, whether we can proceed. Can we make savings elsewhere? Is it a procedure where we can apply negotiations and perhaps relieve some of the issues? Is it possible to reduce the scope? Is it possible to redo something? So there are multiple opportunities, of course, and it depends very much on a case by case. As I also said, it depends, yes. And it does really depend on what the specifics is of a particular procedure, and then we go into the specifics to tackle it, to resolve it.
There are two questions that I would like to address to Andrejs Mislevich, the Deputy Head of Systems and Operations, who I understand that we also have online. Andrej, are you here with us? Yes? Excellent.
Yes. Hello.
We see also you. I will address two questions. And while on procurement, there is always the touch of engineering, especially in the procurements of Rail Baltic. And there are two specific points and questions that I would like to pass to you, that they are coming from the audience, it's not me. So first one is commissioning inspection service for CCS. Yeah, what is the plan for that? And the second one, I think it's not directly linked, but still on the control command system approach, let's say the strategy. What's the plan for the decision on the control command, or let's say control centers across the three Baltic states? Would there be one? Would there be several? And what are your thinkings from the systems and operations team?
Well, yeah, thanks for questions. I would like to start with the second one, that in fact we are going for the single interlocking system, single ETCS system, and single TMS system. What would mean that it would be a one product or one application, which will allow then to implement it on each section of the Rail Baltica. Regarding the architecture of the TMS solution, please consider that we are going slightly behind ENA subsystem and the concept design, which concept design for CCS, which will be used as a reference solution during procurement of the CCS subsystem. This is currently under development. In fact, we as well discuss with the implementing bodies of the states what would be the most appropriate location or solution for them. And what we strongly believe that so we shall differentiate that there is the one system. However, this system could be managed from different locations. Yes, the technology shall allow it, that the management of the line could be performed from different locations. And in fact, we need to have one main OCC and at least one backup OCC. And in the context of the project, currently we are looking as well at the solution which allows or provides 2 backup OCCs with the functionality that would allow to manage the traffic on the entire line. But as I said before, the reference solution which will be prepared for the procurement and will be approved by implementing bodies before we go to the procurement, it will come till the end of this year.
Great.
Regarding your first question, putting in operation or commissioning, inspection, and maintenance. I'm not sure that I understand 100% the question. Sorry. In principle, we target to have to procure solution, CCS solution, which we will evaluate from the life cycle cost perspective. So not only looking at the initial capex, but as well evaluating the cost associated with the maintenance of the equipment during the entire life cycle. This is how we will approach the procurement.
Clear, Andres, and thank you very much. And I think that of course we are happy to have also the CCS engineer with us. Yeah, a strong partner, supporting the project team to get both to the procurement of designs and builds and design and build, but then also during the delivery of the CCS system. But then as we have the fantastic opportunity, and also Udis Sabos participating, the ENE project manager, and here from the engineering team, perhaps I have let's say a specific point for you on behalf of as representing the client. So we are planning to launch one of the largest procurements in Rail Baltic, design and build for any system. So the blood system of Rail Baltic. So what are your expectations from the suppliers? Or let's say, what is the ideal supplier, or what would you, as further user, or let's say direct manager of the consultant, what would you expect from the ENE design and builder, in the future?
Thank you, Dirk, for Yeah, of course, the main purpose of us is to actually, as Andres mentioned, is to implement the NSAP system, electrification of the Rail Baltica, within most best value from the life cycle cost. So, and also the aim is to not look only on the capex, but overall life cycle of the particular NSAP system. So it's plus 50 years from the starting of the operations. And for us, of course, it's crucial to have this actually experience, as we don't have in Baltics such a especially large scale project experience, and we need to bring very strong partners actually with strong joint ventures, and I actually also with the local support also, because it's also the construction, you have to deal with the local legislations. And specifically, we need also, as Aiga probably mentioned, that we are kind of pioneers. We are going for the quite relatively new technology, which is static frequency converters. And we need also these partners actually bring this knowledge, which is quite new, but they have to establish actually strong team to have this knowledge to build this 2x25 SFC, because it will be challenging for everyone. This will be the probably largest project in the world for this technology. So this besides the besides like usual things what we need to implement such a scale projects, this kind of specifics would be very beneficial to have the contractors already start to think about how they can get their team for this technology, because the experience in the market is also limited, I would say. Yeah, thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Back to the procurement team, and I think we are wrapping up the event. But there is one specific question that I see also from here, is that reflecting, or that's an invitation, a proposal, invitation to reflect on the requirements related to the participation threshold in the market at least 1 month before publication of any procurement. Do you understand what is that? What is the proposal, and do you have any comments? Any of you colleagues?
It depends what the threshold is meant here. So it's a threshold from the estimated value of the procurement or some qualification requirements. But overall, I think my response, at least to this question, would be in a way that this kind of information can be published when the procurement is announced, because before that, this is confidential information, and all have to start from the same point with the same information. So the publishing point is the one where we deliver this precise information. In the market consultations, we can inform about the subject matter in more general lines, to point out maybe some details, but not as in such detail as in the procurement documents after we are announcing it.
There's also, and I think that is a point, at least for myself, that I take away not only from today, but let's say all my experience in the project, that indeed follow, especially for the procurements, truly follow the information on the project webpage, railbaltic.org. Yeah, we are using different tools to approach the industry, also the procurement newsletter, the general newsletter through embassies, but also the concentrated information, including on specific consultations, on specific, let's say, subjects, is also being announced, and then there's also that feedback. Yeah, but then there were also several questions. For example, I am producing the noise walls were mentioned. How the potential or suppliers, how can they present, or let's say what they have, yeah, how great they are, and whom to speak with? What is I don't know, the phone number or email address to send the information, or actually to start the contact? Christian, perhaps I can address it to you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm sure Martins could also answer it very well, as he's our manager to sort of our face, so to say, regarding the materials tenders. However, yes, we do have the contact details. We have 2 email addresses. One is a general procurement email address. One is the procurement, or it's spelled procurement@railbaltica.org. The other one, more particularly for materials, is supply@railbaltica.org. So feel free to get in touch and provide any proposals and submissions to us. Briefly going back also to the previous question regarding the threshold, if the question was about sharing information earlier with the market or providing more time for the market to prepare, then please do note that we do have the procurement plan published on the railbaltica.org website. You're able to see it from there. We also undertake market research, and we also, on a case-by-case basis, sometimes in a larger sort of an event, we undertake market research, market consultation exercises. And all this we do, and on occasion as well, where we see a valid reason to do so, we do provide extensions or we provide a longer period for providing applications or proposals. So in that sense, this work is something that we do, and the considerations are something that we provide. So it's always good to have a proactive approach from the market and really come and propose something to us, or come and ask these questions in light of the procurement plan that's available. And then also this provides us with the ability to take something into account that may have been missed. Maybe some particular company has a specific issue that somebody else hasn't thought about. So this will help us then. Yeah. Martins, do you want to perhaps add?
Yeah, thank you. And specifically on the noise walls. And I want to praise the question, of course, and give something back that please then submit your inquiry for such presentation. We do accept those. We don't respond any separate case, right? We are collecting this information. There is no threshold where we gather the information. We see the importance of the matters that raised by the manufacturer. Then we organize these briefings with the companies. And we don't organize specifically with one or another. We do it as you wish, of course, independently, one-to-one. Either we organize one briefing with the many, and then you can ask questions similar like this event, but then specifically for the topic of noise walls, fence, or we will do soon, I believe, end of this month, about the ballast, definitely, because we have to relaunch it, and that's another message.
Good. So, as minimum, I expect a fantastic competition for the noise walls. But colleagues, I think we are wrapping up. There are 2 specific ones that I cannot ignore. One is on will there be a physical global forum? Like we had in the good old times before COVID. And I can reply that we have listened to the expectation from the industry to have regular updates where we are and what's coming up. Because as you see, there's the progress is on quarterly basis already is significant, and I can say that not for the first half, but the plan would be towards the end of the year or in autumn to have also a physical event. Fingers crossed that nothing happens and we can stick to that plan. So yes, but until also then we will try to stick to the plan and commitment to provide regular update. The next one should be something around June, July. And then the last one is, I think, also one of the reasons for perhaps an extended webinar of today is whether the geopolitical situation has any negative influence on the Rail Baltic. Is it quite questioned at all? And I think that while, of course, there are several and many uncertainties and not all the answers can be given, today the speeches of the Baltic partners as well as the EU and Madame Trautmann reconfirming the increased importance of Rail Baltic also at EU level, and that being the best guarantee for you, the suppliers, to participate in this extraordinary number and of size and nature of Rail Baltic procurements starting in the coming months and throughout the year. for you to participate. That, I think, is one of the main messages also of this webinar. So stay tuned, stay safe, follow up, yeah, and we are there to support also you, and let's keep this glorious project moving forward. So thank you very much for all the participants. The videos will be available also after the event in the project webpage, railbaltic.org. And yes, may the force be with us. Chin chin.